George Carton shed.
George Carton's shed.
There was a little man that used to mend boots there.
George, the blacksmith.
McLeod is name.
Is this the blacksmith George?
Not at all.
No, different
No,
George.
this is the man that owns Murray's pub, and his daughter finished up there, Emily. George Carton. And George Carton, years before that, had a horse on hack, and he used to go to the station.
The midboy.
To meet the train.
Now,
and
then to this. It can tell us all about that place, that hall, and how it became the Foresters' Hall.
George Carton owned them buildings. It was only just a shed. And he used to go, when he was a young man, or well, not so very young, he used to go he had a hackney car and pony, and he used to go to the station to meet people off the train. And then he gave that up, and then he had a hardware shop there. You could get shovels or spades or anything like that. And when he died, Emily took it over, you see. But then the sheds, the Foresters just took over that little room and made the Foresters' Hall out of it. And then they got a 3/4 size table and had a billiard room in it for ages. But the previous to that, when Han's shed went, when the band room was up there, they came down to that. That was the band room. And that's where all the pipes and drums were taken by the Black and Tans out of it. And then the Red Flanagan.
Yes, the two of them lived up where Brown's is now.
Yes.
That's correct. Well, then you see where the big house McAnally's is now, that wasn't there. That was a bank in, and they lived in the sheds part where the sheds is. Down in George McAnally's, you understand?
You remember that house of building where George McAnally? I don't remember.
No,
Sullivan's.
How I'm going to tell you is, you see, Teresa Connor's sister, and the back of that a Fleming lived. It was on his baptism lines, and he left that house to my uncle. And Teresa Connor's sister done away with it. Yeah. And my father was down in that's how he got the plate in his head. There was no law in the country in time. He was in Teresa's, you know, down where Flanagan put that pub where Mary Murray's is. So my father had a couple of bottles, and he said to Teresa, he says, I never forgive, says your sister. Done me brother out of that place. It was on his baptism lines that he left him the place and his sister used to say, Teresa's sister used to look after old Mrs. Fleming. And she said, have you that all right for John? So she stole the will and done me uncle out of it, that's the truth.
No, Barney Keane and Torby was a member of the Forest.
Barney Keane and Torby?
Yes.
Had cattle at the hill below?
Yeah. I couldn't...
Rooney's a quick paddy.
Rooney's?
Yeah, Rooney's. Wasn't Tommy Monks at it too?
No, you see, there was a people called the Hibernians, you see. And I think they were sort of mixed around. They had their hall up here, where Mary Maloney lived. There, that was the Hibbs Hall, they called it, you see. And how they came to being was, when the Irish volunteers started, you see, they were just going to John talk and all like that, you know what I mean? And they got in the rifles into Hout, you see, and then there was a row between them. The IRB got into the volunteers, and then there was all for to go to fight, you see. And the split came in 1913 or 14 with a meeting in the Rotunda. And here the split the band. There was the Irish volunteers and the John Redmond's volunteers. That was the split. After that, there was always a little bit of row and a little bit of fighting. But then the Hibbs Hall was up here. And that's very few people know. But there was two bands on Lusk. They formed a band of their own. Half a dozen left the first band, Ash's band or Rooney's band. I formed a band up here. It didn't last long. But there was a little bit of yarrikin going on.
Was it Taylor's with the other?
Well, that was the Rooney-ites and the Taylorites.
And the Taylorite.
Yeah.
And how that happened was, John Rooney was put up to be a county council.
Politically and religiously.
They put up the Hibernians, put up Taylor, and that made it worse again. And Rooney got in, just barely got in, and so 1916 came on then, and you know the rest of it. What happened?
But that's something people don't talk about much, is the split
They don't
here,
talk about the
which was
split.
very bitter.
It was very bitter,
Yeah.
and people, they got rid of it. They didn't talk about it.
No.
It was just the same as previous to that. There was a parallel split. There was a split here with Parnell, what happened at that time.
Well,
And
there
that was-
actually were two bands down
There were
there.
two bands for a while
Yeah.
here. Two bands for then they broke up. When that all disappeared when the prisoners came back from and when Ash was you might say murdered. When Ash died, you see, the whole country got together again, more or less. That was at that time it was very bitter. Even split the Harlan as well.
Poor brave man, he never had a short. He used to cut a piece of cardboard.
Cardboard,
Yeah.
Sure.
You want to go on? Listen, Dan, there's a very interesting, I'm trying to pick out interesting things, but Dan would remember this.
Yeah.
The old church developed a fault and they stopped using it. Do you remember that?
No.
The what old church?
The old church, that church up
Oh,
there.
where it's built.
Yeah.
The church, there was a bad roof on it.
My mother said, now I don't know whether this is a bit of a tale, that there was a mission in the town.
That's right, Paddy, you're right there.
And there was the men were all up, there was a huge gallery up the back, and the men were all up in the back standing in the gallery. And something went crack
Yeah.
in the middle of the mission, and the people kind of panicked and got down out of the gallery.
There's the slab, the seal had come down.
The ceilings,
Yeah.
something
Yeah.
cracked.
Yeah.
And they
Yeah.
never
There's a
used the church
It
again.
was a plaster seal, the same as in down school. Plaster
The
seal dropped.
Father High
The
was here at
seats.
the time,
That's
Oh,
right.
Yeah.
and they decided to get the roof examined. And the architect got up into the roof, and he was amazed that it was so bad. I have it down there in Independent, but they decided to build a new church, and they built a portion onto where the little chapel is now. They built that side portion onto it, and there was the first mass that was in the library for months. You remember going to
That's right.
the mass was in the library for months until that little chapel was built, the side portion of it, and then they started the other
You moved
church.
down to Jinx's then.
They
I made my first
Pat
communion.
Jackson
And the
and
little
Peter
lad here
McDally.
is a Jinx's.
That's where I got
That's
confirmed
what
there.
they call the little chapel. Pat
Oh.
The
Jackson
little
and
chapel down in Fulham.
Peter
Yeah,
McDally.
That's
Peter
right.
Yeah, that's where I
McDally.
made my first
was
communion.
built a
Father
little
Craig was there.
University
Small
to it at the
place.
back.
Funny
Peter
little
McDally
place.
built a little university to it at the back. It's down there, was put down.
Who, my grandfather?
Peter McDally, yes.
Yeah.
He built a little sacristy to the side of it there, where Paddy Russell is living.
That's right.
A small
Yeah.
little place. I
Yeah.
served Boston for 3 years.
Yeah.
That's right.
And then when the other chapel was built in 1925,
1925.
and that cross that's on top of the old church.
Was
There's
that
a cross, there's a limestone cross on that little chapel yet.
That's
And that was on the end of the old church. And the other part, there was a square cross on the other end of it. And Peter Towland got up on it, and it's over his grave, over the daughter's, or Peter's grave that's buried there a month ago. If you want to see it, it's plain,
very square. Down
up
in
at the church.
The new churchyard.
Yeah, yes. A plain limestone cross. That was on one end,
One end.
and the one that's on Fulham's little chapel was the other on the other end.
And they were both off the old church.
They were both half the old
That old
church.
church would have gone back to
1829.
1829.
There's a big hall when you go in, and that you know the stone
There was,
that's
there was a big porch to that church,
Yes.
wasn't there?
you know the
Yes.
stone that
They
the holy water
call
font
it,
is
they
in
call
front
it the
door of
cloister.
this church. Do you remember them?
The cloister.
You go in a
they
big
call it.
hall.
With limestone
The old
added onto
chapel.
the old church.
And the holy water font was made of cement. There's one out the side door of the chapel now.
Yeah.
My father
Yeah.
was
And
given
that old
that.
wall that's up there now is still the old wall of the old church.
Yeah,
Wasn't that the old wall of the old church?
yeah.
Where?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
The
That's
old
it.
wall that's round the church
That's
yard up
right.
there.
Yeah.
Oh yes, well probably that was built when they built the cloister, because the same limestone that's probably got in Millerton.
Milverton.
Mm.
Yeah.
The only thing on this church to see the It's the same pattern as the old church. There was a fireplace in the old church. Remember?
That's
the
right.
vestry.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I know.
The contractor that built it went bankrupt.
That's right.
Yeah, when they built Fingers.
Golf was his name.
Fingers
wasn't it?
broke them up.
Yeah.
Building the Fingers Church broke. Gaw.
Yeah.
Gaw
There
was
was
the
an
name.
unfortunate thing too, perhaps. There was some men arrested on the building of the church.
I don't know.
Is it not?
I couldn't
Was
tell
that the
you.
time? Was that the time that Johnny Clark was a brickie?
Oh, great man.
Not Johnny.
You used to ride a tricycle.
There was Jack. There was wait to see them.
Joe.
Johnny Clark was his name.
What?
Johnny.
Yeah, but Paddy says there about there was a couple of them arrested. Do you remember the time there was a few of the boys caught down breaking into sweepings that went in through the thatched roof? Mrs. Joe was below up here at
That's
Butler's.
right. Oh,
Her
yeah.
Butler shop is.
That's right.
They lifted a few quid out of it. Do you remember that?
I thought my dad. I got that.
The week Bentley was on it that time.
Yeah.
Johnny was on it. And I remember a lad going to school, and Johnny, when they got out with the joy, it was Frank Clark that was with them. Frank and Johnny was captured, as you were talking about, Paddy. And I remember Johnny. They were paid. They were paid, I think, a halfpenny a day in the joy when they were in it, whatever time they served. But I know Johnny come home, and he had a heap of halfpennies, and he went up to Bridgie Muir's shop, and I know we were all nippers, and he bought sweets and he bought millers and all the money down.
Yeah.
And we all got a share out of this.
That's right.
This money that so we didn't know it one from the other, you know what I mean? We thought he was Santa Claus after coming in, you know what I mean?
No,
Because very
they're only
sadly,
kids,
but
yeah.
he paid all in the money he got, paid out in the joy.
That's right. Yeah.
Well, there was a couple of I think there was 2 or 3 lads in it anyway, but sure, it's a few Bob that got talked about, you know what I mean?
There's town. Oh, there now, there's it. You know any more about the commons?
The comments.
At this time of the year, we would have no boots or shoes
What
around.
about Maggie
In your
Mathers?
bare feet.
Yeah.
Maggie
That was
Mathers.
the best way.
Yeah.
And the dust on the side
Maggie
of the road.
Mathers.
and
Mickey
you're kicking
Scally
up the
lived down
dust.
there, my stepbrother.
Oh, well, it's Matters.
When he married Bridie Spencer.
Your towers.
Oh, yeah, well,
the
you see-
skin out the top of your tower.
That was half Lusk, that's
Oh,
half
they were
Lusk.
grand, they were
And
grand.
Loch Shitty.
Oh, we
You
used to
never
go
wanted
to
for nothing. The
to
commons
lock
people were
for
They
tinnies,
wouldn't
golden
want for
syrup
nothing.
tinnies. And we'd
What's
have
that?
them out
All
the road.
rare
We had
down
no
there,
hurling
God
ball.
bless you, and my stepbrother on.
We had the tinnies for a ball, and that ball stuck your shin. Mind you cut it open.
Do you ever spin the tops?
That's why we were
Bicycle
there
wheels.
for hurling, you know.
Do you ever spin the tops in the
You go to
road?
the,
Oh, did
you
it,
go to
yeah.
the
Better-
ditches
better-
there.
And
better
playing
home.
marble.
Oh,
You'd
did it,
cut
And
yeah.
the 50
hopscotch.
stick
Yes.
and just shave the side of it down.
done
It was like a
things.
hockey
And
stick.
the old
and that was your
bicycle
horn.
wheel.
Yeah.
She said, get
No
out there now,
bar
you're
holes,
working
them
all day, go out there and have a spin, Granny.
Get the tinker's ask and ride them to school in the morning.
No. You remember the pilot buses going
You
around?
see well. Well, that time, also, there was a bus service here in Dust that time, second
Sleepy
to
Valley.
none.
They called it Sleepy Valley.
Well, you're the pirate. That was run from Pratt, Skerries had that.
That's right, it was lovely.
On the pirates, you had 3 or 4 buses there. And you had the GNR, you had the Ben Hur, was another. There was about 5 different, you had the Primrose. There was more bus companies in Dublin then. No, there is, there's nothing in it today in comparison to
Now,
buses.
Dan, stand about
That time you
the
get out of
parks.
Murray's Corner there, get the bus. And if a tanner returned to
Lovely.
Dublin.
They were
And
grand.
you paid the driver, you didn't pay, there was no conductors on them.
No, it's-
You paid the driver going in and that was that. And you got home again, you got a bit of a ticket and that done. But it's, the only time you walked out of Murray's Corner, you were sure you're getting the bus. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, well, they were competing with one another.
Pardon?
Yeah,
They were
that's right.
competing with one another, you see.
No.
Yeah, but even so, it was a great service. Then you had the Catherwood on the Belfast Road. That was the time, then the CIE, the government coming around then, and the GNR bought up all these haulage contractors. Jimmy Rogan made a fortune out of that.
Well, he did.
The time they bought up the trucks off the road. You see, they had to have a carrier's plate. And Rogan had the carrier's plate, and he had another old heap of junk in the yard, and he got a plate for that as well. So then, as time went on, the plates were getting dearer and dearer, same as a taxi licence. And he was only confined to a 15-mile radius, you see, if you had no plate. But he could go outside the 15-mile, you know what I mean? And he could draw stuff from anywhere he liked, as long as he had the plate. So he turned around then and he sold the plates, and he could buy a farm of land on them. You know, everything was, it was a great spin of the rate. You know, anybody with a bit of wit about them, and folly it up, there was money to be made out of it. And they made a fortune, some of them. But then you see, the GNR were nearly broke. COE is not better. You know yourself. It's hardly end up buying. That time you're saying the train, you go over the station, you get a train, a steam engine. And that train would be doing about, well, the fast ones I suppose would be travelling around about 70 up to 80 mile an hour, going through the station in Lusk. And you get the local one and she'd do a good, she'd be doing 50 and 60 to Dublin on the tracks, no problem. And you were in Dublin in about 20 minutes or less, and she stopped at all the stations. And now if you go to Dublin, it'd take you half a day if you want to get on time. You'd be half a day going, because you're stopping here, stopping there, and traffic jams and everything else. You know, but they got rid of all the trains, they got rid of all the engines then, and they brought back diesel engines. The war started. They had the diesel. They never had the diesel when the war started out. Then there was a shortage of oil, and there's as much coal below in Kilkenny as to keep it, and Tipperary and these places to keep the bloody engines going for a lifetime again. But you see, they had the trams in Dublin. That was the corporation that kept them, the Dublin United Tramway Company. But they weren't happy with that. They got rid of them. And you look at any continental country today, and you'll see the trams running in a bus type. Did you ever remark that, Paddy?
Yeah.
The double tram instead of the single lad. Yeah. You see them in doubles there on the continent. Yes. And they're run by electricity overhead. Yeah. For they could have the same here in the city of Dublin. Instead of running one tram, that they could have two joined out together. You know, they get actually they train. So that'll relieve an awful lot of congestion. You know, if you look back and see the way things. But the trouble is here, they jumped too quick. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, and they were late in the heel of the hunt to relieve all this traffic. Yeah. But when you look back at that, I often said to myself, what's up with all the inventions and all the fast ways and the fast roads and all, you have overheads and everything. Still in all, there's chopper blocks no matter where you go.
Now, Dan, tell me about the May processions of the May bushes.
Oh, the May bush, we had a great
and
May
the parties.
Had a great bush just outside the door there.
Mary Jane used to collect all the pennies for Mary Jane Dennis.
Yeah. You go out to the field there and you cut a bit of a tarn.
That house that lives beside you there, the corn.
And planted down in Joe Devine's paddock. Yeah. And Mary Jane would go around getting pennies,
minerals.
And we go out and get the primroses off the
flowers bush.
For the May bush, and she'd buy the candles. And a few bits of sweets and cakes and things. I'd be out there singing and dancing, not a bothering us.
There used to be, my father used to say when he was young, there was a dance in the brewery in Browns. Is that right? Do you remember that?
I'll tell you how that happened. The bush was to be out there, and wasn't there. It came a bad evening, and I think it was 1932 or 30. There was an election, and a lot of people come over. It was shifted into Brown's big shed, and there was a great bit of sport there. The May bush had always put into the end of the shed, and sure there was dozens of people there. That was the last big May bush I remember here, around 1932. Mary Jane would go around, as I say, and gather a few heads. And if she had any money over, she used to give the priest or masters with the salt and sugar here.
Should be decorated.
And the candles and a tawny bush you'd have to get.
The bush should be
decorated. Very old festival, gone back
decorated
medieval times.
Yeah, I suppose so, yeah. But there was not only the one bush. Each side of the town or part of the town had their own May bushes.
Yeah, it was lovely.
Sometimes a bit. There was a bank there out. I think there was a Commonwealth bank out there where that man has flowers and things.
Oh, lovely.
And very often the May bush would be on that bank.
That's right. And the big tree, the way we used to sit on it.
And we used to play there. That was a grand playground.
Out there, yeah.
And the police, the old police, used to sit around the tree and stones. Or the British police.
I don't think so.
Hannah Dennis was a dressmaker.
Oh, she was. She was
And
my
she'd get a
godmother.
sack, and every piece of a colour, she'd have a grand mat. Remember the red mats out to the door?
She was my godmother.
That's right. It was Hannah and Mary Jane.
Yes,
And then
she-
Murphy was a devil, wasn't he?
Huh?
Murphy and Paddy Dial, they were pals.
Oh, there was. Which it had
And
to
in
be.
the post office, the
Weren't
post
they
office used to
alright?
be camisoles, and he'd say, Lily, them are damn your souls. He was a devil.
We're looking to be alive.
Is he dead? Is Murphy dead? The red Murphy?
Don't know. He went to Brighton. That was the last.
That was the lad, that was a cat.
Last I heard him.
But we were going round in the dark,
Yeah.
you know, no one liked to talk.
Now, as far back as I can remember, I probably around 3-year-old at the time, or maybe 4. But I remember Mrs. Curley saying to me one night above in the house, Joe Dennis, you're not going home yet. She said, the hands will get you. So I just got up on me and away with myself out the door. And as I went out on the road, I heard this big heavy truck coming up the Harlake Hill, that's Hurley's Hill, the other side of Lusk. And I presumed to be coming out from the direction of Gormanstown. But I run as hard as I possibly could, and of course, being only a little lad, I couldn't run that fast. And the lorry was closing up on me all the time, and I was starting to sweat. But one of the tans jumped off the lorry and he followed me down the lane. I lived there in the back of the school up there on the green at the time. And he caught on me just before I reached the door. And I was roaring, Mommy, Mommy, Mommy. And my mother ran out and she says, What's wrong? What's wrong? And this fella grabbed a hold of me and he says, What's this young fella doing out at this hour of the night? And I said, Leave him alone, he's all right, she said. And she took me out, but he gave me a little tap on the shoulder and sent me off about my business. But another little incident I can remember about the tans too was my father always had an ass in car, fairly big, large ass, and a very essential thing to have an ass at the time, because he was just the same as a person having a motor car now or a lorry. The ass was every bit as essential then, and everybody used to get a loan of him. But he used to be out rambling around, grazing along the roads and that, and at night time he'd always come home on his own. But this particular night he didn't come home. So my father went out the next morning looking for the ass, and someone met him on the road, and he says, Tommy, he says, I see your ass is dead on the main road over there. The Tans lorry hit him last night and killed him. He says he's over there dead now. And that's the only thing I can remember about the Tans. Like, it's little incidents like that. But I often heard my mother saying too that, them bloody Bowsies were around last night. They were all around Lusk, searching Lusk last night. But I never realised what they were looking for. But there's only in latter years that now that I know what they used to be searching for. They used to be searching for members of the area that was mixed up in trouble before that in the 1916. But unfortunately, some of them were picked up all right, but some of them got away, lucky enough. But it's just two little incidents like that that I can remember the Tans. I can remember the church being built. I didn't remember the foundation going in, but I had a little of the church built when I started to remember it. And a lot of the stones were all out on the green. That's how I can remember it so well. A lot of the stones were all out on the green and they were all numbered and marked. And I'm led to believe that the reason they were all numbered and marked was that they were belonged to the old church and they were put back. The pillars that's in the present church were all belonged to the old church, and the pillars were all the stones were all numbered as they were taken out of the old church, put back. Now there was quite a lot of Lusk men employed in the building of that church. And Canon Fendley was the priest. There was the man that was the start of the building of the church. And then he died, and Father Flood then come after that. And after that, we had Father McMahon. But that church was built around 1923-24. I think it opened up for its first mass in 1926. And as far as I can remember, Martin Collier Duff was the first man that was ever married in that church. Now, as I said a moment ago, a lot of these menkind from Lusk worked on that building of that church. But we had some great workmen in Lusk at that time. Not everybody worked at the church, of course. They had to go elsewhere to work. And as we always knew all these men by nickname, and I can always remember that if you called a man by his Christian name, he wouldn't know who you were talking to. You had to call him by his nickname. Some of them often had to walk as far as Rush to work. Some of them walked to Hollywood Quarry to work. And women had to work also. Women always had to get out and do their part too. And when farmers were doing their harvesting in the fields, they'd no combines that time. It was all done by mowing machine or a binder. But there'd be always straggly straw left around the fields. Women then used to go out and they used to get so much an hour, or maybe so much according to how much they'd pick. The farmers always employed the women for to do that. Or they might go out picking potatoes. And there's the way they had to work. And nearly every household in the village reared a pig that time, or maybe two, and hens. That was their livelihood. And they depended on that for when their rates was due, or their rent was due, or they'd have a child for first communion or confirmation. They would depend to have this pig ready and fit for the market, so that they get a few pounds together for that purpose. And they always kept them in a little cot at the back of the house. And many a time they had to bring the pig through the house to load them on the cart for the market. And of course everybody hadn't big bungalows at that time. We're well ahead of our time now with big bungalows and that. They were only small little houses at the time. And the whole village was pinpointed with all these little houses. And unfortunately, a lot of them all fell. But there's new houses all built in their places. But to mention some of these characters that I'm talking about, that I mentioned a while ago, that for instance now, when I was saying about the pigs, we had a man by the name of Mickey Scally. Well, they called him the Daler Scally. And the reason they called him the Daler Scally was he'd always know when you had a pig for sale. And he'd be keeping his eye out on that. And the minute that pig went to the market, in fact, it might be him that might bring the pig to the market for you, he would be in touch with another man by the name of Barnes from Drogheda. And he'd arrive up then around the area in a horse and car with little bonhams in the back of the car. In a horse and car now, not a motor car. And he'd go around then and he'd supply these people with a small little bonhams again. He would have to sell on their pig, put her out for their next lot. And that's how he got the name of the Daler Scally. Well, then you had another man by the name of Strikey McAnally. Strikey lived in there the back of Joe Mackey's in quite a big garden there, and he used to grow a lot of vegetables and mostly gooseberries. And he made his living out of that. Then you had another couple of men up further then. You had the Cracker sweeping, and Cracker had a little shop. And he worked with Pat Jensen for a long number of years, and then when he retired from that, he carried on the shop then until his old age, until he died. Then you had the Blade Russell. Now I'm not sure where the Blade Russell come in, where he lived, but you had a man by the name of Blade Russell, and over further you had another man by the name of Joe Sweeping, and his name was Edge Sweeping. And then you had the Bruton Sweeping. And you had the Beck Carton and the Deck Carton, two brothers that lived together in a small little house. Then you had the Fluto Carton. You had the 60 Smith. You had the Cuter Collins, the Chance Collins, two brothers. They were two great characters. Any more? The Yellow Mick, another man. Yellow Mick, he walked quick and he talked quick. You could never make out what he was talking about. He talked so quick. Then you had the Ginner Carton Senior. He lived in Carduff. And then they christened another Jem Carton. When he died, they christened another Jem Carton, the young Ginner. Now, when he died, he had a son by the name of John Carton, and they christened him the Ginner Carton. So he kept running down the families all right down through. Then you had the Budget Moore in Carduff. He was out in the First World War. He was a great man. And you had Peter Rogers, another great. Then you had the Pummy Monks. They live in Carduff. The Pummy Monks, the Scora Monks. Then another brother, Jack Monks. I don't think he'd ever a nickname. But everybody, nearly every mankind in the parish carried a nickname. my own father, they called him Touchy Dennis. Then you had Mick Kelly, they called him Fargy Kelly. You had Stokes Kelly and James Kelly, they called him Stokes Kelly, and James was his name. They begin to run out of my mind now of men with nicknames. Then talking about men walking, or where they had to walk. I remember a man on the railway, over at the railway station, Tommy Gallagher. I can remember him well, and he would walk from the station in Lusk to Highwood Quarry, or either that Cooking Quarry, either the two of them, and he'd be there again 8 o'clock every morning. And if he was a minute late, he'd have to wait back till 10 o'clock to start. Wouldn't be allowed to start 1 minute after 8. But he walked that every morning. And he might get a lift home in a horse and car coming back in the evening. But, men went near and far for walk. Then when they come around the harvest time, when the farmers would have threshing to be done, I often remember men going as far as Gormanstown to walk at a mill for 8 shillings a day. And they'd be away in the morning at 6 o'clock to make sure they'd be there in time, and walk from that till 6 in the evening. And mind you, walking at a mill was no easy job. So the men had to put in hard times. There were hard times then, very hard times then. And mind you, it's a good job that they have improved. But talk about Lusk then. I've seen Lusk from the years back. It has changed 100-fold over the long number of years, and is the king to what it was then. Now, to mention about Lusk and all these characters, I have written a book of there's about 36 full cap pages of a book about all these characters and where they lived, and pinpointing all the houses where they were, and they're all demolished now and new houses built in their places. So if anybody wants to see it, I will have it. It's been edited at the moment, and when I get it back, it's there. It'll be free for anybody to have a look at it and read it, and not for good that they can pass it back to me, but it's there. It'll be there for anyone to have a look at it. Now, the Remount Farm, I can remember a fair bit about the Remount Farm. In fact, my father worked on the Remount Farm, and the British Army occupied that at that time, and they used to train all their horses and all their pack mules there. And I remember being brought down to Rush at one stage, and I, a little lad, on the arson car. I don't know whether it's the same arson car or not, but I remember going down in an arson car to see the horses, the soldiers, jumping the horses off the pier in Rogerstown into the water and swimming them. And then they had a big ring, which is still over there on the farm, where they used to gallop the horses, cinder track, and they used to gallop the horses around that, and the pack mules. They'd be travelling them around there for hours. And there were some lovely buildings in it, and lovely stalls there for the horses. But there was quite a lot of people who worked on it. Well, then when the war broke out in France, all the people that were working on the farm was all drafted over to France, conscripted, in other words, and sent to France to serve over there as workmen during the war. My father was one of them, and there was quite a lot of mankind at that stage from Lusk on it. Then, in sometime around 1923, I think it was around 1923, that the British got out of it then. They never come back to it, in fact, and they handed it over to the Irish government then. The Irish government had that for a number of years, which a small staff of men, of about 5 men working on it at that time. And then the government handed it over to the Land Commission. So the Land Commission had it on their books for a number of years, and then they started. De Valera was in power then, and he got this idea then of dividing up all this untilled land, and he divided it all up among Rushmen and Luskmen, and they all had to, well, you had to pay so much an acre for it, but then you had to give a guarantee that you would cultivate it. So it was a godsend that was all done, and then there were a few buildings then on it as well. It was sold out. People that got the land bought it. people that got some of the land got some of the houses, and the men that was working on it were let go before the Land Commission took it over. There was a couple of lovely big buildings there. One of them is in full swing at the moment. In fact, it was sold there the other day for a big sum of money, and they called that Captain Mills' house. And it was burnt down during the troubled times, and it was bought by a man that was working in the Land Commission. He was a big shot in the Land Commission. Roddy Hogan was his name, and he got it built back into the original shape it was in, and that'd be around 1933 that he got that house all rebuilt, and he lived in it for a good while. Then he sold it to Dr. Flanagan, and now Dr. Flanagan was after selling it the other day. I don't know who bought it, but the house is still there. The rest of the buildings, which was along the station road, they were demolished. Then there was 2 more houses under Rogerstown Lane, and they were occupied. Paddy Boyle is living in one, and his brother Joe Boyle is living in the other. And that was the only 2. That was the only house that was left. Now I can remember too, as a young lad, I was only a young lad, and an aunt of mine, Lizzie Davis, brought me over to a bazaar on it. There was a great bazaar, and I think it was run for the church at the time, but it was huge. To me it was huge, because there was a big merry-go-round of a hoppy horse, they called them then, but I was amazed at the size of this in the middle of the yard going around, and I was delighted to get up on it. But it was my first time ever to see a hoppy horse, and that always stood in my mind at this. And I've seen hoppy horses since, and I don't think there's any of them the size of the one I saw. It was huge, and the lovely music they had. But that always stood out in my mind. And there was thousands of people. You couldn't get up or down the farm lane. We call it the farm lane. You couldn't get up or down the laneway to it with the crowds of people that were on it. It took us ages to get up there. You were scrutinized. It was like going through the city of Dublin. Then after the land was all divided up, all the big buildings that was in the place was all pulled down. The stables were all pulled down and sold. There was a huge big the riding school, they called it. There was a huge big riding school, as big as any soccer pitch now, and that was all sand floor in there. That was all sand, and if it was wet weather, they done all the training of the horses there. I remember going over to it one time. The mill was thrashing on it at the time, and I remember going over to see this mill. And so when I looked in the door, I could just barely see the mill down the far end. It was just like a steam engine down at the far end of it. It was that big. So we used to have good times in it, because we didn't live far from it, and we used to be always back and forward to it. Now, there was a great water supply all around that farm at the time too. All the water tanks were all automatic. Cattle or horses used to be able to take a drink from the thing, and now they just fill up like what we have now, the water cisterns now that we have that automatically fills it up. And these tanks always filled up like that. And the main water supply come from a quarry up here along the Dublin Road, here opposite Mark Taylor's. There was a huge big quarry there of water, and they pumped the water from that to the Remount farm, and that water was pumped out through the fields then. But when you'd wake at night, you'd hear the tuk-tuk with this engine going, pumping the water. You used to always have it going at night, and they had their own generator then for light on it. I think there's at the moment there's a man living on the Remount farm. He moved into one of the houses. That's right on the yard, John Sherwin. Now a little on the farming end of it. The farming was it went into it was in a big old way. There was more farming done then than what's been done now, and men put in more time on the land than what they put in now, and it was all manual work, horses. There was no tractors then. It was all horse work, and I don't know how they cultivated as much land as what they did. When you see all the big tractors they have now around the land, they had good crops then. They always had good crops, And if you went into a field of wheat or oats, all this could be seen of you was your head, your shoulders would be seen. It was that tall. But now you could go into it and it'd be only as high as your knees. The crops would be very low. What they're doing with it, I do not know. Whether it's the fertilisers they're doing or are they spraying the crops to keep them from growing too tall or not, I don't know. But that time now, there was no such thing as fertilisers. That's what we have now. And we had the best of crops, the best of food, the best of crops that you could eat, the best of vegetables that you could eat, because it was fed on pure farm manure. It was cow dung, horse dung, you name it, but there was none of this artificial at all. Now, the way this manure was made, how it was manufactured, that the farmers always kept plenty of cattle, stall feds. They bring all these cattle into the yards in the winter time, and they hand fed them. They hand fed them with hay and straw, turnips and mangle, and then they turn around the end of the season. Some of the sheds they mightn't be cleaned out for the whole winter, and then after the cattle was put out on land again, the next thing you got then, and that manure was all dug out with forks and loaded and brought out and put in a big square heap in the middle of the field, or somewhere maybe in a laneway or that. They'd have a lay-by for it. And then when that would rot, it had to be left out for so long for it to rot. Then it was put out then on the land. Some land, if it was for, we'll say for oats or anything like that, it'd be spread out on the field and ploughed into the ground. But if it was for potatoes or turnips or cabbage or anything like that, there'd be drills made, and that manure then be put out in heaps, all in the drills. To be men employed then to spread the manure, and then the crops would be put into it and covered over. Then the Rushmen, or some of the Lusk men as well, they'd give anything for a load of manure. They went to the city of Dublin where there was dairy farms or dairies in the city that bring in the cows in the winter time into the sheds in the city of Dublin, and the manure then, the local men here would go into Dublin, load that manure and bring it home. And they'd be out from 12 o'clock the night before, travelling to Dublin to the market, selling their vegetables, coming home with a load of manure, and they wouldn't be home till 4 or 5 o'clock the next day with a load of manure. And they do that twice a week and sometimes 3. I myself went to Dublin Road as a young fella, and I often done it 4 days in the week. And then I'd walk. Most of the time I'd have to walk. If my load was too big, I'd have to walk on the side of the horse or the pony. I had a horse and a pony. And in the summertime, when there'd be potatoes and peas and things like that, you'd have to be going 4 times a week to the market. But in the winter time, you might only go there once. But I used to never bring home manure. We always had it ourselves. We had enough to keep us going. But that's the way they manufactured the manure and that. Well, then they went to harvesting and that. The way they used to do the harvesting, that a lot of the farmers had binders, they call them, drawn with the horses. 2 horses they drawn, and it was slow enough. And then the corn might be lying, or they might be overrun with corn. There was men come up from the county Cavan, and we used to count them as great men with a soy. They all had to be done with a soy. Of course, years back before my time, it was all cut with a little hand hook, but then someone manufactured the soy, and then the soy was used then. But these Cavan men were great. They'd come up and they'd get stuck into it, and they'd cut a field of corn, and they cut an acre in a half a day. One man had cut a half an acre in a day. Then he'd have a man with him, as we'd say, taking it out. He'd be taking it out and putting it into bundles and tying it. Then it'd be stuck. They'd spend a hard day at that. I mean, they were hard-working men, but we had men around the area that could do it too. But you had to depend on these men coming in from Cavan, because you hadn't enough men around the area to do it. And then at the end of the day, then when the corn would be dried out, it'd be all loaded on carts and bogies or whatever the way they get it in, draw it in, stack it in the yards, and then they'd order a meal. There were only a few mills in the area, and they'd come in then and they'd spend a day or maybe a half day or maybe 2 days thrashing according to the size of the farmer, whether he had a big farm of land and big acreage of corn. The more he had, that's what the workman used to be looking for, was a man with a big acreage, so that they'd have a couple of days thrashing. But it was hard work at a thrashing mill. To be about 8 to 10 lads taken on at the mill, and you had to work very hard. You'd lose a lot of sweat at it. And you worked out about 8 shillings a day. That time is something around £20 a day now for a day's work, or £20 an hour rather. But money was very scarce at that time. But of course, there again, the cost of living was low. So the wages were low and the cost of living was low. So it's gone sky high now, and so is the wages. I know myself, when I was started to work, I was earning something around 8 shillings a day. 8 shillings a week, sorry. 8 shillings a week. Then it went up to 12, went up to 15, up to 18, down to £1. But when I started to work then out, and I was getting £3 a week, I went to work in Portrane Mental Hospital. I was working on the farm up there, and I think at £3.8, I thought I was a millionaire for a couple of years. But I left that altogether and I went to another job. But the last job I was in, I know that when my wages went up to £100 a week, I thought I was a real millionaire. But I think the young people now at the present day don't know the value of money. We valued it. We knew then when we got money, we knew what it was. But the young people nowadays are not getting enough in their hands, and that no value on it. Now, to go back to some of the land, we had a lot of large farms here, which was owned by different big landowners, and all there was on it was a man and a dog, and it was set out to to cattle people that ran cattle and that, and they'd rent that land for to put their stock on it, and there was a caretaker attached to the place, and he'd look after the cattle. He'd herd the cattle, and he was paid so much a week for looking after them. But that land then was taken over. De Valera turned around, he decided he was going to hand it all over to the land commissioners and divide it out. So Tunda's land above in Belaley, that was the first land that was divided out, because my father got some of it. And that was all given out as a freehold. You hadn't to buy any of that. That was given out as a freehold, but you only get so many acres of it, and you had to have some ground of your own before you were allotted that. That was all divided up then among other Rushmen, and some of the Lusk men got it. And then after that then, you had Horns of New Haggard, a big landowner by the name of Horn. He had a lot of land there, and it was all divided out among Rushmen and Lusk men, but you had to buy that. But it was on a small percentage of money for that. It wasn't a big rate. I think it was something around £4 an acre they paid for it, but they got it for little or nothing. Of course, £4 might have been a lot at that time, but it was still cheap. After that then you had the Remount Farm then was divided out, and you had to pay for that. And then after that then you had Gough for Rogerstown. Now they didn't take over all of Gough's ground. He wasn't able to manufacture it all, he wasn't able to work it all. But he used to work a lot of it with hay and corn and things like that. But he was getting on in years, and the sons weren't interested in working it either. So he decided he'd put it up for let the land commission take over. I think he run into a bit of trouble, and I think that's what happened there. And they took half it off him, and they divided that all up among the Rushmen and Lusk men at a small price. So that land is all now, it's in full swing. The commissioners then, they built roads here and there down through it when they got divided it up for the assessed to the land. Now there's the commissioners' road, as we always called it, right down through it from the railway station there. You go down Rogerstown Lane, that's to call that down to Rogerstown Lane. You go down that so far, and then you go on to the Commissioner's Road, which brings you right down to Belaley Tiphead. Now that road wasn't always there, and it was a great boon when that was built there, when that road was done, because an awful lot of people could go down from Blaze Cross, right down by the tip head, right round to the railway station. Then up in Belaley they built they only done about a half a mile of a laneway there, brought you right down to land, but we thought they were going to go the whole way to Belaley Road, and we thought it was great, it was going to be a great shortcut. So it never materialised, it was dead end, so you couldn't go very far. They only brought you down to people's land, what they had divided up. But they'd done away with the man and his dog. Now there was a big farm in New Haggard. There were big buildings in New Haggard, and some of the men got the house. They were all good stone houses, and they're all there to be seen still. There were people got them and they converted them into buildings. They were outhouses. They were all converted into living quarters, and there's some fine all good dry stonework. So they're still in operation there. There's people living in them. Now, if there's anything else I can go on land now, I don't think I can elaborate much more on that. Every day in the park.
Oh yeah, sure it happens.
Every day in the Castle Malahide is happening.
That's what I was just going to say. For people home from
The people must be
on holiday
making
here.
try.
Yes, they want something there,
And,
wouldn't they?
He said he would.
It's too big.
So I'm going to go to the Fingal Independent Tourist, and
On the grounds, you know.
Tony McGuinness was telling me that his aunt was home. When I was telling him, he was asking me, did we go away this weekend? We're going away now. 17 years ago now that we walked, you know. That was a lot dear, though, you know.
Terrible.
One of the big ones, is it?
It's one of the nice handy ones, you know. It's not a big video, but
Yeah.
nice and handy.
Yeah.
Yes, I know one of them, but I know it for a fact that all that they're doing is just watching the foreman going. Oh no, the one over next to the railway station.
Oh,
Yeah, the hatchbacks, a big boot in it. They could see into it. But it's happening every day of the week, whether they can see into it or not.
Any time they were going around, they were looking for something to shoot, someone to shoot. And there was two houses, especially in Lusk, Johnny Devine's and Jack McAnally's at the Green. They always visited it to look for the two lads, because Jack McAnally was in the rebellion in Ashbourne, and so was Johnny Devine. And from that they go around then to every other house. But there was one thing about them: the officer that was on the Remount farm wouldn't let them up on it. Above all, he wouldn't let the black and tans up on it, but he would let the soldiers, because he knew there was lads that was on the run were hiding in the Remount farm, though it was British. But they came and robbed the shops, held you up outside, took on that if there was any value off you, held up the hackney cars coming from the railway, took everything and anything off the people that was on it, and the public houses. It was Schroeder's public house at the time, not Murray's. They took all the whisky they could get, and they always had a policeman with them, a fella by the name of Lynch, that used to point out the houses that they wanted someone to find out, to shoot. And if they didn't get you, the brother had you. That was the black and tans. Yeah. Oh, I'm okay though. Yeah. That was the day and the night after Hogan was shot in Croke Park, that the Hogan stand is, Bloody Sunday, that they fired on the crowd in Croke Park. They got Jack McCann that night in Rush, and they pulled him out, and they gave him a woeful death before he went to the gate of the house. He's buried in Lusk. He had a good funeral. I was at it. And that was the only one they got now in Lusk, was him. They tried for every one of the others, but they didn't get any of them. And I seen a man, I wasn't playing handball, I was looking at them playing handball on the ball alley. And that, you know, was built by the GAA club. And Paddy Doyle was on it. He was another member of Ashbourne, one of the Die Hard, or whatever you like to call them. And someone said, here's 2 lorries of them, tenders, coming, and they stopped at Schroeder's pub. One lorry stopped there, and the other came straight for the ball alley. He run off the ball alley, leapt the hedge into Mrs. Norton's house. Now, that's where young Neary has the garage. Leapt in and got under the hedge, and they stopped at the ball alley, searched everyone, including myself, and went from that over to the hurling field where the lads was kicking football or playing hurling, and searched everyone there, and they got no one. And he stopped under the hedge till all was clear. Now, it was a market for Lusk. The farmers got sold hay, straw and all this. It was a market. They get manure if they wanted it, and it gave plenty of work. My father worked in the stores in it. He was caretaker of giving out blankets, stuff for horses, saddles and all that. He had a good job in it. And anyone's son that got finished at school, 14 years of age, he always got a job on it, bringing horses down to the sick line, because all the horses that got anything wrong with them in the 1914-18 war were brought back to the Raymount farm in Lusk, and there's where they was cured. There was vets, there was plenty of smithies, there was plenty of work, and there was plenty of, for the men in Lusk, all types of work, engineering, waterworks and such as it was. There was men in the Lusk looked after. Mr. Haslam was one, and there was a contractor from Rush called Willie Lynch. He used to do all the contract work on it. And anyone that wanted a job and anyone's father that worked on it, you went up and got milk, was there for you to bring home. So no one was ever stuck, and they gave a party for the children at Christmas, and it used to be great. And the man that was in the lodge was Sergeant Major Mills as you went up the lane, and the man in the big house on the station road was Captain Beamish, a Northman. Now that's all. Yeah, that was a deadly flu. I'll call it a deadly flu because young and old, and especially the old, and Dr. Cooney, he didn't get time to have a meal. He was run off his feet because I had a sister worked in the house with him, and he never had time because when he come in, there was always a note there for him for to go to someone, and he had to go off, and with the result, he was living on whiskey, so which he was, and he never got time to have anything, a rest, and it killed him in the finish, and he's buried in the graveyard in Lusk, and a great man he was, one of the best. Now, that's all I can.
you down easily and rest a while. Neath the warm firelight all in the night, but warm is my heart with pride, having you by my side. You're still my guiding light, after all the years Wrong start, sorry about that.
No problem. Again.
My darling, come to me. Sit you down easily and rest a while. Neath the warm firelight, cold is the night, but warm is my heart with pride, having you by my side. You're still my guiding light after all the years. Your soft assuring ways, you're the rock I lean on. Guide me through my darkest days when all hope is gone. You're still the only one I'll ever hold dear, and I love you after all the years. Time from me passed on, and I've grown old. A lifetime nearly done, I cannot unfold night's dark and cold, but warm is your hand in mine, people with age is kind. The light of love will shine after all the years. Your soft assuring ways, you're the rock I lean on. Guide me through my darkest days when all hope is gone. You're still the only one I'll ever hold dear, and I love you after all the years. I still love you after all the years. What do you think?
That's just to get to everybody.
That's right.
Okay.
That's all right.
Away again. Away again.
And I had 2 brothers and 3 sisters, and everyone in the square was very united. We had a Protestant living beside us, and they were the best of neighbours, the Haslams, and you couldn't ask for better. And we used to have a fair on Easter Monday, and every house would be whitewashed. They were nearly all thatched houses. You had Breen Marnies and Katie Angers, Joe Donnellys, P. Kanes, Clintons, Murrays, such as there was, and to the Hill House. And outside them walls, when they be all whitewashed for the fair, it'd be wheels of carts, the way the calves wouldn't rub up against them. And in front of Murray's pub, you had loads of Bonhams, pigs for sale. And anyone that had a few bob, he'd be a din drunk, he'd come out and he'd buy a pig. And there was a black man with a fair for the children. And he used to be, the youngsters used to love to see him coming. He was great. And when the fair to be over, every place it'd be clean up and it'd look great again. Breen Marnie shop, you get anything and everything in it, from a nail boot to a sweet. And he was liked and loved by everyone. And that's all the shop at the time that I'm talking about was in Lusk. After that there was another shop over where Joe Carton is living now, and Mr. Fleming had it. He had a little shop and he used to sell cigarettes and all that. But then there was no shop came into it till lately, and that was when Jimmy Rogan had a shop, and he had everything too, no matter what you wanted. And the sale yard was great. When the day came, everyone brought their cattle to it, and I used to get a job driving them round the ring. And you'd be glad to get that few bob when night would come, because there was no other work. No matter where you went, you got nothing. And that's all.
No, wait.
Yeah.
Start now.
Yeah. The GAA was always very strong in Lusk. They always had a great hurling team. As far back as I remember, when I was only a young lad, they had a good hurling team, and they used to play regular on Jones's Road, not Croke Park then, it was Jones's Road. And they used to play the Knoll, had another great hurling club. And they built the ball alley. And the GAA Lusk and the Rooney's Rahaney gave them a free ground to hurl on. And when that ball alley was a building, there was a division in Lusk at the time. There was two bodies, 2 different crowds, and they cut the scaffolding one night, and the man that was building it was Matt Kelly of Corduff. And when he got up on the scaffolding, it went, with the result that he got a broken leg. And then that left it worse. But the handball used to be great. There were some great players, including a priest in the parish named Father O'Keefe. He was an out-and-out foot handballer, and there used to be great games. And now it wasn't for nothing. It was money. It'd be put in the corner, 2 aside. And there were some great games, and the people used to all go over to look at it. And then there was a man beside it, had a little shop. Mr. Condon Corduff was his name. He came there and he built a new house and had a little shop. And the lads used to get their cigarettes and whatever they wanted. and everything used to be great. And that's where the black and tans used to come. It was over to the GAA club for to see who was there that they wanted. And that's all. And then I'll give you the wrestling.
Okay, go ahead.
The Maybush, there was hell in the back lane. We used to, when we was children, we used to look forward to this Maybush, the 1st of May, and we used to collect for it. We get pennies and tuppences, and we bring it all round to Hannah Dennis, that lived in the house with Mrs. Murphy and Frank Murphy, and we'd have a great night going round the Maybush, singing and getting sweets, and it used to be good for that night. That was all, because it was only just for the one night, and just to say that you had a Maybush, and you just go round and sing, and then when they'd be all finished, the sweets would be hanging on the bush, and you'd get a bag of them.
And the other subject?
Wrestling.
Wrestling.
The wrestling.
And the wrestling used to be held in the bang-ups. There was a ham for the winner. Collar and elbow wrestling, not like the wrestling you see on the television now. And then they had it over in Murtagh's Field on the Loch, and they used to come from Rush and everywhere for to compete. And we had a great man in Lusk for wrestling, Willie Bentley. But generally he was bet in the final be one of the McGuinnesses of Rush. But it used to be a great day. It used to be good, because everyone, as I say, you'd know where else to go to, and you'd always go over. And it was a case of that everyone was wrestling. You could go in at any weight you like and see would you win. But no one ever got hurted. There was no rows, no nothing. Everyone took it in good faith. That's all. I was baptised in the old church, and if you want to see the old church in Lusk, anyone that's interested, they can go to Dermy Brown, that lives up here in St. Cronan's, and he has a picture, or Jack Brown's wife, Lord have mercy on him, has a picture of the old church in Lusk, and that's where I made my first communion, and I remember it well. We were all entertained after the communion, and we got an egg for our breakfast. And as far as the confirmation was concerned, I was confirmed, I was woken, because the new chapel that's in Lusk now was only getting built. So there was a good few of us that should have been confirmed, but we no chapel. So then we were confirmed at the little chapel that's above beside May Russell. That's where I was confirmed, and I came from work, and I tell you what I was doing. I was serving a thatcher on my own home. A man by the name of Tom Doyle was thatching the house, and I was serving him, and I had to go up for singing lessons every day. But when it came to the confirmation, the bishop that confirmed us, I can't tell you his name, but all the fellas that was over age and that was working were put together, and he asked us very little, and we were confirmed that day, and that's a good while ago. That's all.
Born in May.
What's your date of birth?
The 11th of May. I was born 1907, the 11th of May 1907 in Lusk, and I think the curate that baptised me was Father Tower, and Father Tower was an out-and-out IRA man, and he lived above on the green opposite the school. And the teacher that was in the school, that taught me in the school, was Mr. Devine. And he was a great man too, an Irish man. And the school mistress was Miss Mulligan. And then there was a Miss Long after that. She died and she was buried in Rush. And two of us went to her funeral. But Mr. Devine was an out-and-out teacher, and I learnt me football on the green in Lusk with Joe Cairn that lived in the square. The Cairns, Joe and Jimmy, they were great neighbours, and I lived in the square, and I used to be driving an arson car that they had, and when the ball alley was a building, I was drawing water with another arson car, and there was a rhyme out at the time that Taylor had an arse and Rooney had a ginnet, and I bet you 10 to 1 that Rooney's arse will win it. That's the way it was mixed up. Rooney had an arse and Taylor had a ginnet, and I bet you 10 to 1 Rooney's arse will win it. But we were all looking to get the drive the arse to draw the barrels of water over for the building in the ball alley. And I was a young lad at the time. You'd be more water on your clothes and boots you'd have in the barrel. But it was great fun at the time. And
Tell me, the RIC barracks, do you remember anything about the police and the RIC?
I do. I was working with my father. He used to keep me working at night in the lane. And the sergeant came to him to ask him, would the father give me for a few minutes that they locked themselves out of the barrack. The sergeant's name was Mr. Sergeant Brady. Sergeant Brady. So I was brought up and housed in the top window and went down to let them in, but I noticed when I went into the room that it was full of sandbags and rifles. And the next thing, the barrack was closed and they were all transferred in to Rush. And the IRA attacked the barrack one night in Rush, and Sergeant Brady was shot through the door. And everyone was sorry for him because he was a lovely man in Lusk. There was no one had any spite in for him because some of them were great. There was only one bad joke in it, and that was a fella by the name of Lynch. And he was the fella that used to bring the black and tans round and show them the houses where all these IRA lads lived. Only for that they would have never known. And one night he was going with a lorry load of black and tans over at Ballock, and someone fired on them down near the Minister's Road. There was a crowd of IRA lads fired on them, and Lynch was shot in the middle of them. He was standing in the middle of them, but one of them got him. And again they went to Dr. May, he was dead. And that was the end of him. So that's all, Miss Kelly.
Oh, I think I can talk to you now. Hello? Yeah, I'm just around the corner. Turn this off.
Yeah. Well, Sergeant Brady came and he asked me father, would I let them into the barrack because they locked themselves out. And I was brought up and shoved in the top window to let them open the door, the front door. And I noticed that when I got in the window that it was full of sandbags and rifles. As that time all the barracks was being attacked. So the next thing, the police was shifted from Lusk into Rush, and the barrack in Rush was attacked one night, and Sergeant Brady was shot through the door, and everyone was sorry for him because he done no harm in Lusk. But there was a bad pill in it named Lynch. He was a policeman, and he used to go round with the black and tans to show them the houses where the IRA lived. Any fella that wanted to shoot. And one night he was coming with a load of the Black and Tans from Garmentstown. I presume it was going to Swords. And that block, or the ministers, the ministers, near the ministers' road, the IRA fired on him. They were waiting for them, and someone shot him. He was shot dead in the middle. He was shot dead in the middle. And again they brought him up to Dr. May. He was dead. And Dr. May told me that they couldn't believe it, that he was picked out of a crowd of Black and Tans and shot dead. And that was then to him, and he was a good riddance. Yeah, that'll do. He wasn't very well liked.
No.
There's no other stories now you'd like to tell us?
No, no other story.
I think you've everything,
I
Paul.
think you've told us a lot.
Did, yeah. Excellent.
No, cross your legs again. Yeah.
Sorry, can I just sit over here? There you are. I get one outside as well.
Again, you
Yeah.
always knew that there was a chap shot at a Lusk in Ashbourne, didn't you?
Who
Did
was
you
that?
know that?
Who was that?
Yeah.
Rooney?
Rafferty.
Oh, Rafferty. Yeah.
Yeah.
Rafferty, yeah.
Was it Tom Rafferty?
Tom Rafferty.
Tell us about
We'll just say that, I'll tell you about Lusk, what it was. It was an IRA hellhole. Calcutta. Yeah, am I right?
Yeah, you're right.
Well, Lusk was a great place for the IRA. A man used to drill them on the loch in Lusk called Tom Davis. He was in the British Army in the Boer War, and he used to drill them on the loch. And when the rebellion came in 1916, they all went to Ashbourne, and I remember it well because the fair was on the same day, and they went, the most of them on bikes, and we lost Tom Rafferty, and of course we lost Jack McCann in Rush, and we also had Dr. Hayes, which was another IRA man, and he was there, so you couldn't open your mouth. As far as the Hibernians that was in the town at the time, they weren't looked at, and they had sports and everything. They even had a sports, the Hibernians, with the soldiers' band. Now it's called Kelly's Park, the Minister's Road, in Taylor's Field, because there's where they went, and they had a great sports that day, but we wouldn't be allowed to attend it. And when the band used to come out at night, my mother reared geese, and so did a woman called Katie Peppard, and all the rotten eggs was saved for the Hibernian band when they'd come out marching. They'd be all pegged with eggs when they come down our end. And that was that. Poor old Willie Hoy, George Carton of Corduff, and all them were in it, and they'd get pegged with eggs, and there used to be ructions, but they'd very seldom come out, very, very seldom. But all that thing dropped when the Black and Tans came on the go, and any pipes they had, the band crowd, they buried them in the garden and everything in plastic bags, because they was afraid the Black and Tans would get them, which they did. They got a lot. They raided the band hall one night, and they took the flag and all that Bigger gave them, the man from the north. They gave them the Black Raven flag in Belfast linen, and they took that and they brought it down to Garmentstown, and they put it up on the camp till the weather done it in, and that was the end of that flag till they got another. Now,
What about the man you were going to talk about in Ashbourne?
Oh, Rafferty. Tom Rafferty.
Well, I mentioned him
Oh,
there.
did you?
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's great. Yeah,
Yeah.
we'll leave it at that.
Are you right there? Start moving. Action.
Beautiful place, honey. There's some view there. Absolutely. Get that back to Roma. Huh? Yeah, indeed. Yeah, sure is nice, honey. Sure is one beautiful spot.
Gorgeous.
Yes, indeed.
Okay, come on now.
You just watch your step there now, honey. I sure hope you're able for this climb, honey. Let's come this way, honey. Come this way. Go around. Look at that view, honey. Just have a look at that. It sure is. Oh, this is God's own country, honey. Could be anywhere in the world. It sure is beautiful. The old islands and the boats. Really was. It was worth the climb, honey, wasn't it? Sure was. The old mist coming in through the hills. Go on higher, honey?
I don't think so.
No? Sure is.
there for that, will you? Oh, damn it, it wasn't on.
Brendan. Linda Brendan Falls.
Come on.
There we are for a moment, ma'am. Just bring you open the lock from the inside. There we are.
Thank you.
Step outside into the sunshine. Now, the place you want to go is up the hill at the back. This is the thing, right? I'll just slip inside and wait for you. The going is a little bit heavy now, but you're going to be trying to get to the top, I'd imagine. Now, you got that right around the corner, up a little bit of a hill there.
Under the track.
Under the track.
Thank you, Jim.
No problem.
Straight to the top.
How long
There
do you
go.
reckon it'll take?
Well, I'll be here for the next hour.
All right, thank
All
you, Jim.
right, no
Thank
problem.
you. See you
Okay,
again.
enjoy yourself.
All right, thank you, Jim.
Action.
Yep. Hi, Mum.
Thank you,
Out your
Jim.
hop. Now this is Holt. You can't see it all from here, we'd say, but where you're going to see all of it. Now where you want to go right now is round the back to the right there and just up the track behind. You'll find it straight in front of you. Won't be any problem. Oh, the footwear is fine. The footwear is fine anyhow. Up the hill you go, and I'll be waiting here for you when you come back.
Thank you
You're
very
going to see the whole lot of it. Everything.
Thank you very much.
Don't look
Jim.
around till you get to the top.
How
the
long will
way
it take, Jim, roughly?
Well, I'll be here for an hour or so.
Right, thank
Anyhow,
you. Thank you.
enjoy
See you
yourself.
then. Thank you
Right
very
your
much.
way.
Thanks, Jim.
Well, Jim.
Well, folks, you're
We
back.
sure have enjoyed that.
That's
some
good.
place, really.
I enjoyed it too. I was sleeping in the sun,
Yeah.
or near enough to it. Anyhow, do you like the place?
Oh, smashing. We're just saying
Good.
that this place must be really steeped in history.
Ah, history. Now you're on the right boat. I didn't realise you were into history at all. But if it's history you want, this is where you're going to get it. All right. For instance, back in 1914, there was a boat came in here, a boat called the Ask. 1914. That's a date for Howth. I'm telling you, that was the time, that was the year when a boat called the Asgard sailed into this harbour. Now, the reason why it sailed in was that it belonged to a guy called Erskine Childers. Erskine was a famous politician of his time. He was more than a politician, in fact. But at that stage, the volunteers, as they call them, decided that they needed to be armed. So Erskine brought in a load of arms on his yacht, the Asgard, And they all armed themselves here in this harbour and marched back into Dublin as proud as punch. And it's a very decent march now, I'm telling you. But
Sure.
further back still, we got back again to somebody that arrived in here in a boat. It was a bit better than a boat this time. It was Granuaile O'Malley. Now Granuaile was a pirate queen from the west of Ireland. Clare Island she was based on. And she landed here, you see, with full crew, and she legged it up towards the castle there. What did she find when she got up there was there was no place set at the table for her or any visitor. So she picked up the little son and heir of the place under her arm and away off with her. And she only agreed to return him if they settled to set a place at the table every day and every mealtime in case some poor hungry wanderer might come along. That's just a sample of how...
That's quite interesting,
we
Jim.
go back a lot further than that if you like.
can.
I'll tell you, I'm slightly involved in a historical society, and if you're interested and if you're staying around for a while, there's a meeting on during the week, and I'd love you to come to it if you'd be keen. What do you think?
I love that.
I think you've convinced us, Jim.
Good enough.
Thank you very
now.
much. Wouldn't be delighted.
It's very organised as Irish meetings go. I'm not quite sure what night it's on yet, but I'll let you know.
Yeah, sure. Sure, that'd be fine.
Grand stuff.
What do you-
Very interesting.
Grand stuff.
Yeah,
All
sure.
right. Why don't we just take a walk along now and see a little bit more of this little town? Maybe
Be
like a bite
delighted,
to
Jim.
eat, something
Sure,
like that.
sure.
Okay.
Or a pint
Right.
of your Guinness.
Now you're talking.
Thanks, Jim.
Away we
Right,
go.
honey.
Oh, it's just...
Look at
mine are
honestly.
just as bad.
Mine
Forget them.
do.
They'll never be seen. They won't be seen.
Mountaineering. I think I'll get them bronzed and framed.
That's terrible.
Hmm?
It's fishing for you now. It leaves all that kind of...
All the rope and tackling.
Oh, shocking. It's a pity. Should have some way of getting all that away out of the way.
So,
Any history about Ireland's eye, Jim? No?
Yeah, there is.
Sir,
Yeah.
what was that ever used for?
I don't know.
There was a...
For lookout tower.
Is that on, wasn't it?
Now,
Plenty of marine life here if you consider the stuff on top of it anyway, the boating.
sure.
It's a marvellous indoor, it's a marvellous leisure time activity up around the whole coast. In fact, Howth,
Seems to be-
Skerries, Malahide, a whole lot.
Yeah.
It's great stuff. All right. Are you sorry yet that you're going to Paris?
Well, you know, myself and Brenda were just talking last night. We're thinking of cancelling it, Jim.
You're joking.
Just wondering, would you be able to spend a week with us?
I don't see any problem there.
You don't mind driving
That's
us around?
fine. No, no problem at
Well,
all.
I'd like to visit a few old places like Ballybuckle.
Ballybuckle? How did you
Well,
come
just-
to hear of Ballybuckle?
Well, there's a friend of mine there I'd like to meet sometime, you know.
Right. No trouble at all.
Went to school there, you know.
Ah, I have your rumble now. That's what we're after,
We
all
grew
right.
up in the area.
I see.
Yes,
This is
and
great stuff. That'll be no problem, whatever. Yeah, I look after the... In fact, I have a bit of a holiday coming to me. I wouldn't mind seeing it along with you.
right,
Just as a
Jim.
bit of fun,
Be
okay?
a pleasure. Be a pleasure.
Great
That's very
stuff.
good of you. Thanks, Jim.
We're in
Thank you,
business.
Jim.
No problem. Take another further look across the water there because I often come up here by myself in the evenings to look out at it. It's worthwhile.
Jim in the car. He's coming to collect us. He's bringing us to boat.
looking at the view, you know.
Oh, then the amount of view attached to this place. Only the better. There we go.
Right along the hill, go right out there. See, it's an absolutely beautiful spot to see. Oh, Jeff. How are you? Go there.
Why not?
Now, we'll just give you a brief history of the house. The house was built by Charles Cobb, who was Protestant Archbishop of Dublin. He came to Ireland in 1717 with his cousin, the Duke of Bolton, who had been appointed Lord Lieutenant of Ireland. Charles Cobb, through his viceregal connections, enjoyed rapid ecclesiastical promotion and eventually ended up as Archbishop of Dublin in 1746. Charles Cobb bought the lands here in order to build his mansion. He wasn't a planter as such, but as Archbishop of Dublin, he had plenty of money. So he used them to buy lands in order to build a magnificent residence for himself. He died in 1765 and is buried in the picturesque church of Donabate. He was succeeded by his son Thomas, who became a great benefactor of that church, and it was he who paid for the beautiful plasterwork which adorns the church. Thomas married Lady Elizabeth Beresford, who was daughter of the Earl of Tyrone. Now she brought great wealth with her, and with this wealth they built the great drawing room. In it they entertained lavishly, and also hung the many pictures which had been bought for them on the continent by the Reverend Thomas Pilkington, who was the local rector here in Donabate. Card playing was incessant in the great room, and guests came from all over the North County Dublin. Insobriety attended these games, which often lasted from 10 o'clock in the morning till 4 in the afternoon. Thomas was succeeded by his grandson, Charles, because his own son had predeceased him. Charles reigned here from 1813 until 1857. The Cobbs were good and conscientious landlords who looked after their tenants and were very concerned about their welfare. For example, in the 1830s, they sold some of their most valuable paintings in order to finance the building of houses for their tenants. However, in the 19th century, the Tide Wars occurred in Ireland when the local people objected to the paying of 1/10 of the produce of their land to the Protestant church, which was a minority church. So this brought them into contention with the Cobbs, who backed up the established church. Having said this, however, they continue to have a good folk memory in the parish. People still talk kindly of the Cobbs as landlords. Now, as you were coming in through the gates of Newbridge, you may have noticed on your left a castle, an old castle. Well, this castle was a Norman castle, and after the arrival of the Normans in the 12th century, they became part of the Irish countryside. At the turn of the century, a brass cannon was found near the castle, and in recent years evidence of the moat which had protected the castle was uncovered. So it has a long history, and obviously has had a violent history sometime in the past. But let's take a more peaceful route now, and we see the house. It survives largely as it has from the 1740s. So if you come with me now, we'll start off in the hall. So, if you wouldn't mind. Newbridge House is situated
Just
on...
a second. Just want to make sure it's a different shot. Now, go.
Newbridge House is situated on lands which formed part of the ancient territory of Breegia. In the 7th century, the Gobon Ser, architect of the Irish Round Tower, was born less than 1 mile from here at Turvey. With the coming of the Normans in the 12th century, castles became a feature of the Irish countryside. One of these, Lannistown Castle, was built 500 yards from where Newbridge House stands, taking its name from a family by the name of the Lawney. The castle was last inhabited by the family of Fitzsimons. Early in this century, a brass cannon was found in the vicinity of the castle, and in more recent times, evidence of the moat which had protected the castle was unearthed. Newbridge House was built by Charles Cobb, Archbishop of Dublin. He came to Ireland in 1717 as chaplain to his cousin, the Duke of Bolton, who had been appointed Lord Lieutenant. Thanks to his vice-regal connections, he enjoyed rapid ecclesiastical promotion and became Archbishop of Dublin in 1746. He died in 1765 and is buried in the picturesque church of Donabate, of which his son and successor became a benefactor, paying for the beautiful plasterwork which adorns that church. In thanksgiving, the parishioners of Donabate granted to him the Norman Tower adjacent to the church as a burial place for himself and his posterity. Thomas married Lady Elizabeth Beresford, daughter of the Earl of Tyrone. She brought some wealth with her, and as a result, the great drawing room was added to the house, in which they would lavishly entertain guests and hang some of their valuable paintings, purchased for them on the continent by the incumbent of Donabate Church, the Reverend Matthew Pilkington. Card playing became incessant, often lasting from 10 o'clock in the morning until 4 o'clock dinner time, and was attended by much insobriety. Thomas Cobb was succeeded by his grandson Charles, who reigned at Newbridge from 1813 to 1857. The Cobbs were good and conscientious landlords who had a genuine interest in the welfare of their tenants. In times of scarcity, they were not found wanting, and in the 1830s sold some of their valuable paintings in order to finance the building of cottages for their tenants. However, they were strong adherents to the established church, which was indeed an arm of government, and this was to bring them into conflict with their tenants during the tide wars of the 19th century. The last of the Cobbs to live permanently at Newbridge was Thomas Lurick, who died in 1985. Shortly afterwards, the estate was acquired by the Dublin County Council and is now one of the most popular tourist attractions in the area. The cobbled courtyard has been painstakingly restored to its former glory. The 18th century farm was an independent and self-supporting entity, where many of the trades of the day were carried on. At various times, up to 40 people were employed on the farm. One of the biggest attractions is the coach house, wherein is housed the magnificent Lord Chancellor's coach. The farm itself is a delight for adults and children alike, with many more animals being kept there. No, I made a mistake there, sorry. With many rare animals, I should have said there. Newbridge House is situated on lands which formed part of the ancient territory of Bregia. In the 7th century, the Gobán Saor, architect of the Irish Round Tower, was born less than 1 mile from here at Turvey. With the coming of the Normans in the 12th century, castles became a feature of the Irish countryside. One of these, Lannistown Castle, was built 500 yards from where Newbridge House stands, taking its name from a family of the name of the Lawney. The castle was last inhabited by the family of Fitzsimons early in the 17th century. Early in this century, a brass cannon was found in the vicinity of the castle, and in more recent times, evidence of the moat which had protected the castle was unearthed. Newbridge House was built by Charles Cobb, Archbishop of Dublin. He came to Ireland in 1717 as chaplain to his cousin, the Duke of Bolton, who had been appointed Lord Lieutenant. Thanks to his vice-regal connections, he enjoyed rapid ecclesiastical promotion and became Archbishop of Dublin in 1746. He died in 1765 and is buried in the picturesque church of Donabate, of which his son and successor became a benefactor, paying for the beautiful plasterwork which adorns that church. In thanksgiving, the parishioners of Donabate granted to him the Norman tower adjacent to the church as a burial place for himself and his posterity. Thomas married Lady Elizabeth Beresford, daughter of the Earl of Tyrone. She brought some wealth with her, and as a result, the great drawing room was added to the house, in which they would lavishly entertain guests and hang some of their valuable paintings, purchased for them on the continent by the incumbent of Donabate Church, the Reverend Matthew Pilkington. Card playing became incessant, often lasting from 10 o'clock in the morning until 4 o'clock dinner, and was attended by much insobriety. Thomas Cobb was succeeded by his grandson Charles, who reigned at Newbridge from 1813 until 1857. The Cobbs were good and conscientious landlords who had a genuine interest in the welfare of their tenants. In times of scarcity, they were not found wanting, and in the 1830s sold some of their valuable paintings in order to finance the building of cottages for their tenants. However, they were strong adherents to the established church, which was indeed an arm of government, and this was to bring them into conflict with their tenants during the tide wars of the 19th century. The last of the Cobbs to live permanently at Newbridge was Thomas Lurick, who died in 1985. Shortly afterwards, the estate was acquired by the Dublin County Council and is now one of the most popular tourist attractions in the area. The cobbled courtyard has been painstakingly restored to its former glory. The 18th century farm was an independent and self-supporting entity where many of the trades of the day were carried on. At various times, up to 40 people were employed on the farm. One of the biggest attractions is the coach house, wherein is housed the magnificent Lord Chancellor's coach. The farm itself is a delight for adults and children alike, with many rare animals being kept there. That's it. While the men were drinking their claret or playing cards or whatever they did in those days, the women would retire together into the drawing room and drink tea, have chat, tell all the local scandal, and maybe go for a walk in the wall garden or in the shrubbery, which there was a lovely shrubbery roadway right into the village of Donabate. And the walk to Donabate and back would take the best part of an hour. So by the time they get back, perhaps the menfolk would be well inebriated, and so whatever happened after that, I cannot tell you. So the full story hasn't come down to us, only part of it.
Bernadette, here we come to closing again. No problem. Bernadette Marks. Well, Brenda. On the way from New York.
Hi, good morning. Yes. Hi.
Lovely spot. Two friends, Bob, Brenda, O'Brien, pleased to meet you.
Thank you very much.
What's the most events, Brenda?
Oh, this.
After this one, now I've lost my page, haven't I? Just a minute, hold on. Here we are. I think the date you're looking for is the 22nd of July, 1825.
1825, March, May. Here we have July. Here, there is a Pat Clary on the 22nd.
Yeah. Yes. Father's name, James Cleary.
And mother was Frances Clifford.
Clifford.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wonder could that be
Oh, what it probably would. What you'd want to do would be to go back then and find out about James Cleary and Francis Clifford. The registers here actually go back to 1763. So perhaps if you left it with Sheila, she would do a bit more research for
I'll do
you.
I'll do a bit more research for you, and as you're going travelling a bit, you can call back to me on the way back, and I'll have it all done
That's
for you.
very good of you. Thank
That's very
you.
kind indeed.
This is the 22nd of July, 1825.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. I have that here. So I will go back. Our records go back onto 1723. So I will go right back for you, and by the time you've finished your little tour of Ireland, I will have them all ready for
I
you.
know all about my ancestors.
I know.
Thank you, Sheila.
You're very
Appreciate
welcome.
that very much.
You're
Thank you
very
very
welcome.
much.
Take your finger away. Now start talking.
Now this is the Pat Cleary, I think, that you're looking for, whose father was James Cleary, born on the 22nd of July 1825, and whose mother's name was Frances Clifford. But as I said, I will go back through the records, which go back to 1763, and try and do my best by the time these good people come back from their tour of Ireland and have it ready for them. Our up-to-date record, which will bring me back to 1763, but I think the one you're looking for now is Pat Cleary, born on the 22nd of July 1825, whose father was James Cleary and mother's maiden name Frances Clifford.
No, we
find-
have July here. July. Oh, this looks like it.
that's
22nd of
it.
July. Look, Pat
Yeah.
Cleary, James, and Francis Clifford.
Son of James and Francis Clifford, that means, yes, yeah. And the sponsors were Pat Wade and Ann Timms, for your interest.
Very
up-to-date records, which were done by the
Fingal Heritage
Fingal
Index, actually,
Yeah.
that would be better to say, wouldn't it? Yeah.
3.
This is an index of our most recent records that we got brought up to date, and I can find here a Pat Cleary, born on the 22nd of July 1825. The father's name being James Cleary and mother's maiden name Frances Clifford.
Here we have July 1825. Oh, here. I think this is it.
This is
22nd
yeah.
of July. Yes,
Yeah.
James.
James would
Francis
be the father,
Clifford.
Francis Clifford,
Mhm.
yeah. Pat Wade and Ann Timms would have been the sponsors. So now, so I think perhaps the registers here, as Sheila said, go back to 1763. So perhaps if you left it with Sheila, and
Yes,
she'll do
and
a
in
bit
the
more
meantime,
research.
I will. I'll do the
Yeah.
research while you're on your tour, and by the time you write back in Swords, I'll have it all completed for you to take back
That's
to the
very
States
good of
with
you.
you.
I appreciate
We
it.
appreciate that very
No,
much.
I'm happy with that.
Yes. We
Yeah,
know
thank
all
you very
about my
much.
ancestors.
Well, indeed.
You can do your
Yeah.
family
Thank
tree
you.
when you go back home.
Yeah.
Well, that sure is very interesting, honey.
It's amazing.
And initiate the conversation.
Go ahead.
This is getting very interesting, Brandon. I'm just going to tell you the reason why now. While you were reading that out, I just started to think a little bit. And what I came up with was my great-great-grandmother was also a
You'll
cleric.
have to do it again because the bloody bike was looking rather real.
Excuse me. This is getting very interesting. And I'll tell you the reason why, Brenda. Because when you were reading out about your antecedents there, I just suddenly remembered that my great-great-grandmother was also a Cleary from Swords, believe it or not. Hi, cousin.
Hi, cousin.
The world is a very, very small place.
Well, that sure is incredible, Jim. How far back? Sorry, stop.
Go ahead.
Well, that sure is fantastic, Jim. Well, that sure is fantastic, Jim. How many generations back can you go?
Oh, I have no problem going back generations. I can pick up the good points, mind you. There are plenty of generations in my family that are as well left alone. There's no point in disturbing them. But this makes us third, maybe fourth cousins, Brenda.
Oh, gee, I think that calls for a celebration. What do you think, honey?
Hi, cousin.
Well, it's good to see you after all these generations.
Well, that is extraordinary.
Absolutely.
I think we'll go down and celebrate this. What do you think, honey?
Great idea.
Right.
Why not? More Guinness?
More Guinness, Jim.
All right, away we go.
Well, that is fantastic. Unbelievable. Right, let's go.
People, oh,
Was this a big help?
this is a marvel. Oh, this is fantastic.
But we had to do, I ran a project with young people, we put all that on computer.
Good.
And it's still been done, you know,
Yeah.
we're still working on it. Yeah, we've done all the parishes in the area. And those books are in good condition compared to some of the ones we got. The ones in Lusk now are dreadful.
But they're ratty.
Yeah, that's a pity. And some of them are not just but some of them, you know. We got one from town now.
What
St.
is
Albans,
wrong with
or
you,
not,
Bob?
What do you call the other one? Hodgson Street.
He's pacing. His nerves are gone.
Dreadful and
Jim's back there.
Oh,
Here,
that-
it started off.
I have to keep translating that.
Oh yeah, the laugh now awkward. You don't know that.
I think it might be over here. There are lots of Clary stones. This might be the right one.
Dead centre of Summers.
Now there you are, dear. Thanks, Sheila.
I would think that James Cleary is possibly a brother of the man you just said.
Well,
Yeah, I think this might be the right one here. There are a lot of Cleary headstones. I think maybe this is it here. Let's have a look. Yeah.
What is a Clary?
Cleary. I would say this James Cleary here, you know, this is the research Sheila's going to do for you, but I would nearly be certain that that is a brother of the man from whom you've descended now, Patrick Cleary, because the dates would fit in. He died in 1889, you know. So this is it. So you're
fairly satisfied.
Do you want to kiss the ground or anything? No.
What you did a minute ago, say, I think this is it.
Yeah, yes, I think this is, I'd be nearly sure this is the right one. There are a lot of Cleary headstones around, but the dates seem to fit in. There's a James Cleary here who died on the 3rd of September 1889, and I think he might be a brother of your Patrick Cleary. Wouldn't you agree, Sheila?
Oh yes, yes.
I
It's
think
around the same era anyway, so
yeah,
I imagine
I think it's the right one. So
definitely on the right
they're
one.
your ancestors now. So do you want to kiss the ground or anything? Or well, this is it. This is where it all started for you. You know, so.
I didn't expect to get all this information and find them.
Yeah.
It's incredible to find dead relations and live cousins.
Yeah.
For a point now.
Yeah.
Bob, bring them down for a pint.
Points are on you.
so I reckon we better go down for a pint now, celebrate.
Ah, yes.
What do you think?
Yes.
Right,
Yes.
everybody down.
Great
for the look.
idea.
Right.
Yeah. All right.
That's definitely
That's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
evening.
Good evening.
Welcome to the Marine Hotel Sutton.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Hello, welcome to the Marine Hotel Sutton.
Thank you.
Hi, welcome to the Marine Hotel.
Thank you very much. You opened the door, did you, that time? Yeah. Okay, we're then
Well,
going.
say hello to her first.
Yeah, you did.
You
yeah.
did.
Okay.
You set it
So
up.
do the same again.
Yeah, do
Actually, Bob opened his own door that time. Yeah.
Okay.
Hello, good evening. Welcome to the Marine Hotel in Sutton.
Thank you.
Good evening. Welcome
Good evening.
to the Marine Hotel in Sutton.
Thank you very much indeed. Thank you. Good evening. Thank you very much. Let's check in. Yes, please.
Could I get a porter to help you with your cases?
Yes, please. Thank you very much. Be very kind.
Hello.
Good evening. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yes, please.
Do you need somebody to help with your luggage?
Yes, please. Thank you. Beautiful day, thank God.
Mr. O'Brien, everything's okay? is
Oh,
it?
grand, thank you, Jim.
That's fine. I'll see you in the morning.
Oh, appreciate that, Jim. Thank you very much.
No, have a good night.
Thank you.
Take care.
Good night.
No. Room 220 for you.
Oh, thank you very much.
Nice to see you room for you.
Thank you very much.
Okay,
Thank
lunch
you.
is already sent up to your room.
Thank you very much.
Enjoy your evening now.
Thank you.
very much. Thank you.
Two orders.
Well, I'm just after phoning the travel agent, honey. We said we'd meet up with him again in Paris on the 22nd. Happy?
Are you right?
Yeah. I'm just after phoning the travel agent, honey. I told them we'd meet up again on the 22nd in Paris. Happy now?
Oh, Bob, that is wonderful. You know I've always wanted to come to Ireland. Thank you.
Do that kiss again. Once again.
Oh, lovely.
Here we go. He's covered in lipstick. I'm sure you've no lipstick on.
Right? Go ahead.
I'm just after phoning the travel agent, honey. I told her we'd meet up again on the 22nd in Paris. Happy now?
Oh, Bob, that is wonderful. I've always wanted to come to Ireland. Thank you.
Got it?
Well,
I'm just after phoning the travel agent, honey. I told him we'd meet up again on the 22nd in Paris. Happy now?
Oh, Bob, that is wonderful. You know I've always wanted to come to Ireland. Thank you.
Okay, honey.
Hi. Are you okay?
now do the kiss again. Put the drink down. Come on. It's over, do it.
You don't tell us to stop.
Go on.
You told us how.
No, do it. Do it.
Do what?
Do the kiss. That's it. No, I was talking that time, so you got to do it this time.
I'm ready to rush
You
into
right?
the pro.
Do it all over again.
No, just the last bit.
The kiss?
Yeah.
All right.
Go.
I'm just after phoning the travel agent, honey. I told them we'd meet up again on the 22nd in Paris. Happy now?
Oh, Bob, that is wonderful. You know I've always wanted to spend time in Ireland. Thank you.
Right, cheers, honey. That's it.
Thank you very much. Oh, we'll lash one on the other side here now as well. Thank you very much.
Send them up. Yeah, please, sure. Sausage? Yeah. There you go, sir. Can we go back inside with this? We can. Here, that broken yoke wasn't on.
That burger's supposed to be black as the hobbit.
That's just the charcoal.
What are you doing here? What about the burger?
I thought they kept the rest.
You paid royalties
tonight.
It is. Is that us there now? Looks well done. Decent sized kebab now, the lad.
Oh yeah.
No. You went all the way. That's what I did like. There's food there. Great, thanks very much.
A few people like to milk down here.
That's the next guy?
Yeah.
Okay.
Smash stuff down there.
You go ahead, I'm right behind you. So good, keep the thing down. Okay, Brenda.
Above me, but on me fellow poet's lot I quickly forgot 'twas a theft of the highest degree. In most miserable guise I've lived many lives and fooled all the people around there. I've leached off good folk, drunk all their poke, and in return only given hot air. I said to the blokes, I'm flat bloody broke, but I'll buy a pint next week, sir. So the poor working pigs, they kept me in drinks, but I clung to the cash like a miser. Now everything went well, my lifestyle was swelled, till the curse fell upon me like thunder. For the roar of the bards smashed through me guards and ripped up me whole life asunder. It seems I quickly found out what my scheme was about and spread through the city the story. So now I have to confess to the whole bloody mess and leave those good poets to their glory. I pray now for hope at the end of this rope, that your poets to hell don't condemn me. I am guilty as judge, sure as the booze of me blood, and deserve neither kindness nor mercy. So you good people out there who now know of this affair, the moral is easy to see. Never mess with the bards, for their curse will fall hard, and you'll end up as sorry as me.
Bad Moon Rising. We're going to risk another song, and if we get thrown off the street because of this song, you're going to all have to give us a fiver.
Actually, if the police come along, just turn around and pretend to look at the window displays.
This is called Bad Moon Rising. $5 each.
Okay. 1, 2, 3.